Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Harlequin here, and welcome to another episode of HarlequinCasts Dawn of War 2 Retribution. Today's game is actually going to be an Orc Mirror matchup between two very skilled players in a 1 versus 1 game here on Outer Reaches. And I'd like to begin this by giving a quick little shout out to Mr. 42nd Easy Company, a fine gentleman I happen to meet in general chat, and let that be a lesson to you. If I happen to be recording a game and someone says something nice in general chat, I may very well just give you a shout out in one of my replays, because I often like to just hang out in general chat beforehand. So anyhow, this is a fantastic map. We already saw it once earlier today. Again, if you watch these things as I put them out between Aki and Accra, it's a fine map indeed. Let's go ahead and look around and get introduced to these players here. So on the lower left-hand side, playing today as the blue, at least on the mini-map, Orc player, although he does have an absolutely smashing-looking yellow, green, and red paint job today, we have Mr. PaperBaG playing as the Warboss commander. His opponent, all the way over on the other side of the map, playing as the Mek commander today, with a nice little kind of blacky red kind of paint scheme going on there, is going to be Mr. illonexxx. Let's go ahead and get this game started here and see what everybody's up to more or less here. So, looks like fairly standard build orders from everybody so far. You can see Shooter Boy squads coming out of both players, and already, just kind of looking at the mini-map here, I'm just going to kind of watch the heroes, because I actually suspect that I really like what they're both doing here. And yes, as you can see, I'll look at the vectors on some of these. So the minor pieces, by the way, the Shooter Boy is going back to cap this requisition point. The Slugger Boy is coming up here to cap this power point. However, notice that the Warboss being very aggressive. I love the idea of using your early game units to capture points, using your heroes, however, to prevent your opponents from capturing points. Both of these guys are doing this right now. You can see the Mek Boy in particular putting a lot of pressure on this power node as it's being captured by PaperBaG. The Warboss, however, scared away one squad of troops, already forcing a retreat right around that victory point. And now continuing to harass around this power node. However, a little late, was not able to hurt that power node so much, but you can see, look at this little Mek commander over here, inflicting quite a few casualties. 3 losses there for the Slugger Boys, and upon capturing that victory point, he's upon retreating away like that, he's just going to go ahead and recapture that victory point. So that could be a real stall tactic there, just to kind of annoy PaperBaG a little bit. You can see PaperBaG Shooter Boys trying their best to kind of fight him off, but even just standing there capturing that point, he's already inflicted a casualty. Or rather, another casualty. Wow, he's just taking a lot of Shooter Boy losses here early game. That's quite unfortunate. So, what was I going to say? Oh, yes, so it's really important early game to put a lot of pressure on your opponent's power, obviously. Power timing attacks are key throughout the game, but really you can do them whenever you want. I'd kind of like to see this Warboss. Well, honestly, the Warboss can't do anything about this power node now that it's been already upgraded, so I will completely take that back here. But you can see at least he's capturing, doing some damage back here by capturing this requisition point. Unfortunately, this time he has his back to all these Shooter Boys, and you can see he's taking quite a bit of damage here, going down to 50% health, even less. He is going to get that point, which is a little bit annoying, but unfortunately it's going to cost him his presence on the field here. Whereas you can see the Mek Boy has no problem just kind of blinking around, taking care of business all around here. However, PaperBaG is showing up on the field right now. You can see that he went for triple Shooter Boys right off the bat, whereas illonexxx decided to go for some power generators instead. So illonexxx likely has a Storm Boy plan or something to that effect, but PaperBaG right now content to do this without much power at all. As you can see, he hasn't upgraded his power node, is going to be going ahead and putting some pressure on that. His Shooter Boys continuing just to kind of wreck away over here. It was a really nice combined attack coming from all of his troops. You can see the Slugger Boys chasing away, and we might even see a retreat out of illonexxx's troops here. Looking around right now, you can see his Mek Boy is back home healing, and here we have, okay, it looks like the Slugger Boys got a little bit overambitious there, and now going to have to retreat, unfortunately, through melee, taking a few extra casualties there. But you can see, I really like what he's doing. He was basically just kind of covering for his Shooter Boys who are up here bashing this gen farm. Unfortunately, they are being suppressed right now. You can see that the Shooter Boys do have the big shooter using that aiming what's that ability to kind of suppress these gentlemen, and now they're just going to have to retreat away. So big shooters kind of all over the place, and unfortunately, he was not able to get that power generator down there. So that's going to hurt him a little bit. That was not the most effective generator bashing going on there. Anyhow, you can see the Warboss still standing his own here. Bam! Getting a nice little attack off on that gentleman. But it looks like central control is going to go back to illonexxx for the time being here, which is quite interesting actually, because PaperBaG for the most part has a numerical advantage here. But you can see Again, good habits from good players here. illonexxx winning this battle, just going to go ahead and split his troops up and cap multiple points at once. Very effective way to go about it. You can see the Mek Commander grabbing stuff here. I don't think anybody's even touched this southern power node yet. That's often an easy one to get. People don't usually defend that too heavily. You can see the wounded Shooter Boys were kind of making their way up the side, trying to capture all of this vital stuff here. But it looks like illonexxx is going to be able to take care of that for the time being here. Looking down south, you can see that PaperBaG now moving out with the rest of his troops, and we do see that Stormboy squad out on the field right now for illonexxx. That was exactly what I was expecting him to get here, just because he put a little bit of he put some emphasis on getting early game power there. We do, however, see power nodes are finally up for PaperBaG here, so he's likely going to be saving up, looking for some tier 2 tech at some point. But we do have a massive, massive army here. So the Orc mirror match, indeed. I'm kind of curious to see what illonexxx is going to be able to pull off here with Storm Boys, because there are no such units on the field right now for PaperBaG. So if he can catch them alone, he could do a lot of damage. Otherwise, that focus fire from all of the Shooter Boys could easily pick them off. Looking around here, we can see Shooter Boys hanging out with Slugger Boys as well. And it looks like perhaps PaperBaG has got his opponent cornered for the time being here. You can see his opponent is just setting up right now. Oh, the Mek Commander does have that def gun up right now, so he's going to be able to do some suppression. However, we do see that stomp coming out of the Warboss right there, doing quite a bit of damage, but just look at the amount of shooting going on right here. Unfortunately, good amounts of cover, good positioning, and what with that def gun upgrade for the Mek Commander, it looks like illonexxx is going to be able to stay on top of things for the time being here. His forces are moving out, going to be capping stuff, and yeah, man, it's still kind of anybody's game, but just kind of seeing the build orders here and trying to make sense of that. And what do we have going on here? Looks like illonexxx is going to be going for a second Stormboy squad, so that is kind of unusual. By the way, from what I know, there could be a little bit of metagame going on here. I hear that these two guys actually like to practice together in custom games and, test things against one another. This is an actual ladder game, however, so it could be very well that illonexxx is trying to kind of get PaperBaG out of his playbook, trying to confuse him a little bit by using some different strategies. So the double Storm Boys here versus the triple Shooter Boys. That's quite interesting indeed. But you can see what with all the time that he bought himself winning that battle up north, he was able to take out the power node, but unfortunately not able to get too much more damage done other than that. He will, however, force PaperBaG to have to repurchase that. Down south, we can see the double Storm Boys right now, capping that power point for the first time. And things are otherwise looking pretty good right now. Again, we kind of have... Try and get a feel for this when you're watching replays. There is a very natural ebb and flow that happens, especially with armies that like walking around in big blobs, and Orc is no exception to that. Orc loves, if there's one thing that's better than 2 Shooter Boy squads side by side, it's 3 Shooter Boy squads with Sluggas and so he's just going to pile all of his troops up. So as a result, he tends to retreat everything at the same time, come back at the same time. So really all that's happening here is we're seeing waves of attacks and retreats go back and forth, which is why the score is largely tied. However, it looks like illonexxx has had a little bit more control over the victory points during that time, but really nothing too significant. But here we have it, coming all the way from the south. Check it out. We have the double Stormboy squads from illonexxx right now, snuck all the way around south, captured the southern victory point, and now, having seen the majority of PaperBaG's army all the way up here in the north, are going to have no problem whatsoever just destroying his power generators. Unfortunately, PaperBaG was already able to go to tier 2, so it's not going to prevent him from teching or anything like that. But it will hurt his future power purchases. But really, there is nothing PaperBaG can do right now. It's going to cost him control of the map, as he's going to have to retreat back with forces that can deal with double Storm Boys. That's the other problem, is he can't just go back with one Shooter Boy squad. They'll all pounce on it and rip it to pieces. He needs to go back there with his entire army. That buys illonexxx a lot of time to spread back out and capture some stuff here. So again, illonexxx just a little bit ahead right now, 450 to 408 in terms of victory points. But seriously, it could go either way right now, honestly. It's just kind of this ebb and flow tactic going back and forth here. Again, we can see the Shooter Boys now just opening fire. But however, they do have to compete with the Mek Boy. Look at the suppression on the Mek Boy right now as all of the Slugger Boys go charging it. But we can see right now, looks like PaperBoy went ahead and fired off, PaperBaG went ahead and fired off Use Your Choppas on his Slugger Boys. I'm saying boys and bag. That's my problem there. Anyhow, by the way, if you hadn't seen it yet, this is the new Use Your Choppas graphic, just to make it a little bit easier to notice. I, for one, love that, because I always had a hard time distinguishing a lot of the Orc features, which just kind of ended up being like you know, random yellow glowing effects and whatnot. So massive, massive, just imagine all like the little shells and cartridges just kind of littering the battlefield right now. If you look at any of these guys while they're firing, you just see they're just spitting out shells in all directions. And look at that Warboss right now. You can see he does have the cyborg implants, giving him the big stomp upgrade to his stomp ability. Got to see a little bit of that in action. Unfortunately, he took too much damage. Going to have to retreat. And oh no, this is a very unfortunate retreat path right now for PaperBaG. You can see being forced to retreat right through those double Storm Boy squads right there. Anyhow, the little bit of power problems that he was having as a result of some of those attacks didn't seem to set him back too badly. We can see this lovely looking war truck. And I always like to investigate the paint schemes here. So you can see he's got the nice red shirts and the green paint job and the yellow stripes. And just looking nice. I do enjoy paint jobs. Meanwhile, Storm Boys continuing their trek up north. I do like this tactic of moving the Storm Boys in tandem and just having them be this hard to counter, you know, squad or, you know, pair of squads that can just kind of roam around the map doing as much damage as they want. It kind of challenges PaperBaG to have to deal with them adequately. And PaperBaG, however, doesn't seem to be too thrown off by this. However, he is just going ahead with a very standard build order here, other than the fact that he went triple shooters instead of getting something like Storm Boys, but going straight into a war truck and then getting out a Weird Boy. So we'll be seeing all of that pretty soon. The war truck right now is picking up its precious cargo. I'm pretty sure those are the Slugger Boys inside. Yes, they are. And the Weird Boy right now is waddling his way to victory. We can see here again, I just love looking at just shells just like ripping out of all these humongous orc units, just kind of, you know, spraying clumsily shells all over the place. So here we have it. Looks like the war truck right now homing in on the Shooter Boys, and Tier 2 almost done for illonexxx, so he's a little bit far behind in that respect. And it looks like PaperBaG isn't even going to try to do a melee drop or anything to that effect. He's just going to keep his distance here, applying some suppressing fire and whatnot, and that seems okay.